My body's ready. Oh, you gonna play the intro?
And we are live on YouTube with the last 5 rounds of an 8-team ESPN Draft League because, damn it, I planned on doing a podcast tonight, so we're doing a podcast tonight. I am at Beerfield Hop, joined by at Beerfield 30 and at Eddie_TSP. Did I get that right?
Just no underscore, just the Eddie TSP.
Eddie TSP. All right, cool. So
I'm sweating over this pick.
We're sitting here talking analysis, so I figure I might as well podcast it just in case for some reason anybody has drafts left to do at 9:30 on the last Monday before the season starts. So last 5 rounds of an 8-team league just because we're talking about it, and I was hell-bent on podcasting. So here you go.
Right here. Hey, I mean, I said we'd probably do it. We'll just talk about it. First off, I really don't like 8-team leagues.
Agreed.
Unless the rosters are larger or it's like some sort of like fool's gold. The players are all too good. The teams look very similar. And you're basically playing roulette with injuries. But it's a bunch of industry people. So we're excited to, to talk shit. And maybe write some articles.
Right. I think it's more just the talking shit is what we're all looking for.
We're gonna break this thing down. But
I mean, we'll definitely we'll just fucking talk about the fact that I took Sony Michel over Darrell Henderson, and I don't give a fuck.
Just to start shit, really.
I just don't fucking care. I mean,
the problem is it's not like I didn't think it was terrible when you did it. So you can sit there and tell us that you misclicked on Jonnu Smith, but I mean, you took Jonnu Smith. Let me tell you guys a story about misclicking, okay? It's a thing. It's possible. I've never done it in a fantasy football league until tonight. And if Noah Fant has the year I think he's going to have, I'll be very upset.
I mean, he's still there. He might still be there.
You could come out of an 8-team, single quarterback, single tight end, no premium league with 2 tight ends.
Right.
Don't let the Twitter masses tell you otherwise.
Dude, it's all about trade bait. I'm just setting up for like week 8, week 9.
I draft Jonnu to trade him.
Live your best life. Yeah, I'm drafting a tight end for trade bait.
That's right. No one's going to tell you otherwise.
It's all right. Watch this. My guy.
I know you're taking.
My guy.
You're taking.
Who am I taking? Who do you think I'm taking? My guy right here.
Oh. There's other guy left that I like more.
Yeah, that you like more. I love Corey Davis.
Yeah, I think you also like this player more than Corey Davis. I think it's because you have T. Higgins that you won't draft Tyler Boyd. But
it is, and it's also
and I'll also just draft Chase Claypool for the off chance that Big Ben sucks and we at least get a bigger arm in there.
Well, I already got Juju for that, but you're right. I do have T. Higgins. I do like T. Higgins quite a bit. I love Tyler Boyd, too. I think he's very undervalued. I think if Jamar Chase, given what's happened in training camp, is the one being overvalued right now, T. Higgins just seems to fall to me at a value where it seems like I like him more than Tyler Boyd does. So, I don't know.
You know what I also realized about 8-team leagues is that when you get into the double-digit rounds, you're still going to be arguing with yourself every week on who you should start.
Right.
Because the difference is not that far off. Also, make it best ball. It'd be perfect. Then we don't have to care about it. We draft it. We talk shit. Be like, look how better I am at drafting than you are. Then you just say bitch right afterwards. Bitch.
Right. As long as you have to end it with bitch, though. If it's finished with anything else.
Only way to do it.
That's insulting. But you say it with bitch. It's like
you gotta do like a pause, like bitch. Just fucking hammer it home to him. This is how it feels, Eddie. That's how it feels when you draft Jonnu Smith.
Dude.
What's fueling Beerfield?
I don't know if we're gonna do a full review here or not, but Dan.
I am drinking. I'm continuing my trend of just drinking bourbon on our shows.
Well, this isn't an official show, by the way. This does not have an episode number. This was just thrown up live stream.
So
I was doing a podcast tonight, so I'm really doing a podcast tonight.
Well, just don't move your camera down. I mean, if you do, it's fine. I mean, I
will
don't think
stand
we'll
up.
complain.
Just FYI.
I'm drinking Old Forester's 1910 for our draft tonight.
Eddie, you drinking anything?
Yeah, I just went with a little, rum and Coke, which I'm actually almost out of. It could be why I took Johnny Smith on accident.
Captain or?
No, we're going with a little Sailor.
Okay. Sailor Jerry?
Yep.
Love some Sailor Jerry. I've got, it might have made an appearance on the show before. I don't know. This is one of my home brews. It isn't really one of my home brews. Brian at Mill Pond did a Gosa base. This is a wort share beer that I threw some honey kiss on. There's a bunch of melon and stuff fermented on my own.
You have not talked about this yet. You have sneaked it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I'm drinking right now. It's really clear too.
That looks like a Goza.
Fermented out really nice. So
looks clean. How does the honey contrast with the?
I'll have a full. The honey kiss. So honey kiss is basically like a cantaloupe on steroids, but the melon notes and everything really do kind of subdue the acidity and the sour on the back end. I guess I'm doing a beer review right after I previewed it. But the one thing I don't like is that it did end up with like a little bit of rind, a little bit of like rind melon, like generic melon type notes, if you will. So it's not all like sweet and fruity. It does balance out nice. I think I'd probably use a different fruit next time, but overall, I'm not disappointed with it by any means.
There you go. That's nice.
It'll show up at a homebrew meeting this month.
We're going with the 2 tight end strategy, by the way, in an 8-team league.
Throw that out. You took no offense.
I told you he'd make it back to you.
Listen, I felt like at this point I was obligated. Like I
feel like you were just like trolling us. You said you were going to take no offense. You actually went with the player you really like 10 rounds early, but then you were like, I fooled you. See,
here's the thing. I don't like Johnny Smith, actually. That's the problem. Because I'm not a fan of him.
Hey, Dan, you ready for this one?
Here I am. Going to be throwing his jersey on every week, if that's what it takes.
Do it. Who are you taking? It's totally going to be Michael Thomas, isn't it?
No, I'm taking another back. That's really not the back I was teasing.
Philip Lindsay?
He's a starter.
I was gonna take Devin Singletary, and then I saw Lindsay there, and I couldn't bring my. Here's the thing, right? Starting running backs, even if it's in double-digit rounds, they do have value. Somebody is going to run a football at flex value or above for Houston. Yeah, my bet is that it's on Philip Lindsay.
Philip Lindsay.
Yeah, because
I do feel like though that they're just going to be that like who's hot that week. You know what I mean? Like if they give the ball to all three, one of them gains 2 yards. Like, hey,
but Mark Ingram's 40 and David Johnson's going to be in IR after week 3. So
that's fair. That's fair.
I put on. Who the fuck's playing who in week 1?
Denver, by the way, one of my favorite. Have you looked at Denver's schedule, Dan?
Yeah,
one of my favorite defenses to draft to at least stream for the first 4 weeks.
It is pretty nuts just how good of teams they've faced, potentially, too. Like, the first 3 weeks are nuts.
Mm. Yeah, the AFC West has a rough schedule this year.
Giants, Jaguars, Jets.
Yeah.
I mean, Baltimore, they got a lot of speed on Denver, so.
I'm just saying, Denver's defense to start the season is something I'm way.
You have one strong, you have one potentially strong offense, maybe 2. Like the Jets and Jags are your wild cards.
Yeah.
But then you get
but rookie quarterbacks, Fangio's a good defensive coordinator.
But they switch straight to Pittsburgh and then the Raiders. So you're looking at your first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks.
Potentially
you have
being
at least like 4 or 5 viable streaming weeks. And that's if they don't dominate. And then
so I've been drafting the hell out of them.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. I was looking at them or Buffalo.
I like Buffalo a lot too.
I don't also draft defenses, so I'm also very not used to this.
I draft. Yeah, I really don't either, and I like Buffalo. I like LA.
The thing with defenses, though, man, you could almost just take against a matchup every week and be successful. Like
you can, but that's why I'm advocating for drafting Denver because, and not everyone requires it, but you have to leave if you have to leave with a defense. That's why I advocate for drafting Denver because rather than play the waiver wire those first couple weeks, they're the team that you would stream those first, 5 to 6 weeks, or would argue that you could stream them those first 5 to 6 weeks. So if you take them, you don't have to worry about it. You just do it last. I usually leave my last bench spot, which is going to be a turn spot anyway, for the last pick and take my defense and kicker ahead of that last bench spot. But, you don't reach up for Denver. But when you're streaming defenses, what you look for coming out of the draft is you look at their schedule in the first couple weeks of that to see who am I going to draft late that's going to perform to where I don't have to worry about burning a waiver spot for them or trying to pick up scraps off the trash pile.
Yep. All right.
Denver, you got the first, 5 of the first 6 weeks they're viable. So then I'll stream after that. I'm with you, though. Think about that's why you take defense late. That's why you don't reach up for an elite defense is because you can pick them up off waivers and stream them.
Well, that and let's not forget what scores you points in fantasy. That's turnovers and defensive touchdowns, which are extremely volatile. So what you're looking for, you're hoping for a defense that can hold teams back, but you also want a defense that's a part of a high-powered offense that can, force their opponent to become one-dimensional, so he can get sacks and turnovers, things alike. Like what's become a little more, I guess, sticky is sacks, but trying to predict, turnovers and we talk about it every year. It's very rare you see, the same defense dominating,
right,
in 1 or 2 seasons, especially for fantasy wise, because it's just all on non-sticky these turnovers really are.
Yeah, that's why with Miami, for example, this year I would almost stay away from them for the most part. Just because last year they were high turnover point based, right? And turnovers are just hard to duplicate year in, year out.
Yeah, and you have told that your offense can take the next step forward, and you can capitalize when your offense is up double-digit points.
Right, and Tua stinks, so that's never gonna happen. He's awful. I'm sorry. We go back and forth on our shows every week. I hate Tua. I think he's awful. I think he's Fitzpat. I mean, there's a reason why they had to bring in the reliever quarterback last year and Fitzmagic to win games.
I'm not ready to write him off. He's one of the best college prospects we've had in a long time.
And he was coming off of a giant hip injury too, which is the other thing.
It's not so much the athletic ability. It was taking too long to go through his progressions, waiting for a receiver to be open before throwing it instead of throwing him open, those type things. And again, he was a rookie, give him some time or whatever, but it looked bad to me last year. And even in
I admit it was bad last year.
Hot.
Yeah, I admit it was not ideal. I mean, it's a lot of the film experts that I listen to or I guess pay attention to will also talk about how it was generally he just didn't trust himself at all.
Right.
And it just I'm on the clock again. What in God's name is this?
I mean, at the same time too, it's hard to really judge too many rookies off last year considering how weird last year was, right? No off season, really Zoom meetings for your practices. They won't be like that this year. So maybe give them the benefit of the doubt, but I just don't see it.
Oh God, it's over with, guys. We survived.
I got the last pick, dude.
I mean, I survived.
That's right.
Hey, do we got IR spots in this league?
I don't think so.
Oops.
I mean, you can add IR spots.
I could. But
are we actually playing this league, or is it just a mock?
Oh no, it's played.
Okay.
I gotta think of some kind of like trophy that we can send out, get one made. I should think of the design.
Should be just like a Wrangler belt. It's an 8-team league. You should just go to Walmart and get a Wrangler belt with a cheap belt buckle. here's your championship belt.
There you go.
Share my team. I don't want to share my team. I don't even know if I like my
I don't
team.
know if I like my... I don't know. Hold on.
I don't think anyone should really
Here's
like
what
their
I ended
team.
up with. Tell me what you think. We'll compare.
Okay.
You want to measure... Do you want to measure penises here?
We're gonna measure penises here.
By the way, we were joking about using that as a means to establish draft order, and I very much was all for it because I like picking at the end of the draft this year.
Love it.
I do feel like being like when you're the commissioner and then you get the first pick, everyone looks at you and thinks that you rigged it. But
Yeah, because
true.
people actually really want the 101. Like,
I know.
no
I
one ever
fucking
wants the
hate
first pick.
I hate it.
Because there's never one dominant player in each year.
And you don't get a you don't get a pick for 17 other picks or whatever it is after,
All right, so let's put the penises on the table.
All right. I ended up with Lamar Jackson as my quarterback.
Okay.
Devontae Adams,
Good running
Tyreek
back.
Hill. So I ended up with Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Juju, Corey Davis, and Michael Thomas is wide receivers.
I'm just gonna go to your team. You can keep talking about it because other people won't be able to.
No, I mean, look, obviously I started wide receiver in a 8-team league, and I got the top 2 wide receivers. So, I mean, you cannot argue that. I don't know what the point scoring is in this league. I hope it's PPR.
It is.
Okay, cool. So I got the top 2 wide receivers. To flip that around to go Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, 2 backs that definitely have RB1 type upside. Insulate that with Gus Edwards, who's taking over for J.K. Dobbins, and Phillip Lindsay, who has a chance to be the one in Houston. Could have done a better job insulating my running backs, given the fact that I didn't jump on them early. That's probably where trade bait of guys like Higgins and Juju and Corey
Johnny
Davis
Smith.
and Michael Thomas.
Johnny Smith.
Oh, by the way, there is an IR. There is an IR spot in this league.
There's one IR. I see it.
Oh,
Look at that.
okay.
So
Goddamn.
Michael
I set
Thomas
it
is
up
my
and don't
last
even
round
know.
pick. Makes perfect sense.
Should
So-
probably maybe bump that up with COVID. Maybe, just maybe.
So I'm going to throw Michael Thomas in that IR spot, then go pick somebody up. So my wide receivers are well insulated if I need to trade for running back help later on. Logan Thomas at tight end. Mentioned it before. Logan Thomas is a guy that I like. You know, if you're not going to get one of the top 5, basically, if you're not going to get, it might be 6. I can't count. If you're not going to get Kelsey, Waller, Kittle, Pitts, or Hawkinson, Logan Thomas is that 6th guy you want. Him, Noah Fant, you can make an argument for as long as you click the right button.
Right.
But-
if you get him in the right spot.
I mean,
you
we'll
know what I
talk
mean?
about the other one that should be a part of that list now due to injuries to his playmakers around him and Mark Andrews. There's literally no one healthy.
Mark Andrews should be up there too. Yes.
Yeah,
So,
Baltimore.
I mean, look, there's 8 guys that very well could be cut above the rest at the tight end class. Tight ends are becoming deep. Logan Thomas is easily the 2 for the Washington football team. So, going with that. Oh, I got Amari Cooper too on that wide receiver core. So my top 3 are Adams, Hill, and Cooper, backed up by Higgins, Juju, and Corey Davis and Michael Thomas.
So
My
I
team
went-
exemplifies deep wide receiver.
I mean, that's what's nice about these
8-team
smaller
leagues.
leagues too. Yeah, is that you can get the depth behind it. That's
Yeah.
why when you generally make leagues this size, you either increase the roster size to make more, just to make people have to try a little harder. I guess you're not just reading off sheets. You kind of have to know some players. Expanding the starting roster size also helps with that. Generally, just so you get a little more parity with the starting.
Throw that out there
rosters.
for IDP too, by the way, not just to
Yeah.
pick on 8-team leagues. I was in an IDP league that did not expand the roster size at all. So I ended up taking, when you've got one IDP starter across each team and you did not expand your bench at all, I have no defensive players on my bench. And it's because you didn't expand your bench size. So, if you're going to, first and foremost, if you're going to play IDP, expand your bench to make it make sense. Because if you have 7 bench spots for a league where you start 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people, right? You've got 2 fewer bench spots than you do starters. If you're going to throw 9 more IDP players on, then you need to throw 7 more bench spots there as well.
Yeah. And just because you're playing in smaller teams doesn't mean, like, a lot of people make jokes about league size, and the best way to combat, because you can play in small league size and still have a blast. You're going to always have dominant starters, but the reason why I preach, if you're going to do that, expand the starting roster so you can get some of these other players in there. It makes a feel of a 12-team league in a 14-team league, or in a 16-team league in a 4-team league. I just added on more quarterbacks, running backs, receivers.
Yeah. And I will say this about smaller leagues too, as well. I mean, it does test you as a manager for, how willing are you to drop players you wouldn't normally drop because there's somebody else on waivers. Because, I mean, if you're playing 12, 14-team league, anybody on your roster right now, you're probably not looking at them being like, I'm going to go in and drop this person. But in an 8-team league, you have to adjust and realize, hey, I'm going to have to drop some guys I wouldn't normally drop. And some of these guys on the waiver wire on a week-to-week basis are going to be better than people I have rostered. And I have to play that even more now because the waiver wire is so deep. The waiver wire has to become an extension of my roster.
Yeah, essentially.
On to mine. So I went double running back early, Zeke Taylor. I paired Zeke and Taylor up. This is JT Jonathan Taylor with Damian Harris, Sony Michel, and Trey Sermon. So I got my 2 dominant starters that should generally be in there each and every week. My potential late second half guy in Trey Sermon. If he takes that backfield over, we know what running backs in San Francisco can do. Yeah. And then 2 good solid RB3 and RB4 and Damian Harris and potentially Sony Michel. Receivers, AJ Brown, CD Lamb, Tyler Lockett, Cortland Sutton, Tyler Boyd, Chase Claypool, Michael Pittman. So just a large combinations of high-end production, and hopefully in Brown and CD. Block is generally great for consistent production, even though he'll have his one blow-up game and kind of one bad game. And then, a Tyler Boyd to fill up for bye weeks, and Chase and Pittman are my upside picks. Mark Andrews, as we just talked about, with all the injuries and depletion to the receiving core in Baltimore, Mark Andrews is oddly enough the only one healthy. Him and Sammy Watkins. Dak Prescott to round out the stack of Dak, Zeke, and Lamb. Because when you play in an 18-team size, you kind of have to try to create some value and try to create some boom weeks for this. Yeah. Thursday night can look pretty rough with these 3, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that like you were mentioning, these 8-team leagues, finding any kind of advantage really is the key, right? Because every team's going to be stacked, so you're not really like picking like receiver, running back particular. You're almost just going best player available, or best value at that time. So like, for example, like my first 3 picks, I went running back. I had the number 1 pick, which sucks. But we went McCaffrey, Gibson, and Najee Harris. I just think Harris is going to get so much opportunity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pittsburgh always uses their running backs like crazy. So other running backs, Myles Gaskin, who, I mean, healthy, I think he could be an 800 guy if everything looks good there in Miami. Plus it's PPR, right? So every reception is going to get you a point. Quarterback, I ended up getting Russell Wilson, which I'm not too fond of, but if he can have a full season instead of a half season, it might look. I mean, he's got the weapons to do it. I mean, Lockett and Metcalf got to get their points from someone. And last year he was QB1 for the first 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then, tight end, we're just going to skip.
Well, you don't want to talk about Jonnu Smith?
Smith, dude.
Noah Fant. You got Noah Fant at a really
I did get Noah Fant, but when you're attempting to draft Noah Fant and you hit Johnny Smith, it just kind of throws the rest of your draft in the shit pile, and you're just kind of trying to recover.
If only you knew the commissioner that could have stopped that then and there.
And it kind of makes me wonder why was I going to take Noah Fant there? Because I got him 3 rounds later or whatever it was. Anyway,
right.
So maybe a bad decision either way. But for receiver, we got Robert Woods, Allen Robinson, just kind of everyday kind of receivers. I think they're just going to be consistent. Deontay Johnson, Will Fuller, if Tua can throw the deep ball, it'd be a nice little piece there in Miami. Brandon Cooks, because someone's got to do something in Houston. They got to get yards somewhere. Michael Gallup and Antonio Brown, just because why not?
Because why not?
So, a couple things I want to touch on. Dan, why Sonny Michel over Darrell Henderson?
I believe that Sonny Michel is going to be the one that's out on pass catching downs. He's a better pass blocker, so he should see more snaps, more opportunity. Darrell Henderson, in the absence of Cam Akers, and then in his rookie season, was basically giving up those premium pass catching snaps or just pass catching down snaps to Malcolm fucking Brown, and we all know that Sonny Michel is better than fucking Malcolm Brown. Darrell Henderson will have his games. He'll definitely have his blow up games, but Michel feels like the better fantasy asset. And you can get him. I mean, at this point, I took Michel over Henderson, but generally, Michel is a pick that's taken 3 or 4 rounds after Darrell. For the brand, we'll just say that.
For the brand.
And
then Eddie, you mentioned not loving Russell Wilson. What's the reasoning behind that?
My biggest issue is I think last year, their offensive line still didn't get any better.
Right.
And Russell was running around pretty much all day. It's just at the beginning of last year, the defenses were a step behind. They got some tape on him, figured him out for the second half of the year. And we all saw the production, right? Tyler Lockett kind of disappeared. Metcalf was still there, but Russell Wilson kind of went downhill. So my only concern really is, one, is the offensive line. And 2, if Carson gets banged up like he was last year, they can be in trouble because they're going to be a team that needs to run the ball to set up the air threat, that Wilson can't. I don't know. That second half of last year with Wilson just kind of worries me. And I feel like the offense in Seattle's kind of gotten stale. They haven't really done anything different, in the last 5 years. It's all pretty much the same. Wilson, you run around for an hour and throw the ball to the guy who gets open.
Who's running around for an hour? He's got some protection.
The goddamn cheat code out there.
Yeah. Athletically, he's amazing, right? But that offensive line,
it might be one of the biggest blunders in all of football is you have this incredible talent that is Russell Wilson, and you decide to want to run the football more than throw it.
Yeah.
It's like we have all this advanced analytics that will tell you, just how much more important passing
Dan, did you draft the Broncos while we were talking about the Broncos?
Yeah, you didn't see that?
I did. You didn't get that? I was going back between, I think, Buffalo and Denver. And then I also remember just how insanely good that starting schedule was. And then you mentioned it. I'm like, this makes more sense.
You know what's funny about that? I ended up going Buffalo because Denver wasn't there.
I saw it. I saw that. That was great.
I thought he just kind of slid it under the radar.
He did. I didn't notice.
He kept talking about Denver's schedule. And
I didn't notice. Blah. I did not notice that he did
that. Here he is selecting him.
If you paid attention to me when I talked at any other point, he would have known that ahead of time. But
have we talked? We've never talked defense on the show.
No, we primarily give kicker analysis. That's mostly what we're here for.
I mean, we'll talk defense when we
kicker analysis. What analysis is there really? Just find teams that get to the goal line and can't put it in.
Well, that's basically it. You find teams.
That sounds like my childhood.
Wait, it does sound like my mid-20s. Just
there you go.
You can set it up nicely,
better.
and you can't finish.
College is
so you just kick the
back
field goal instead.
I got real close, and then it was all over.
That brings back some memories. No closing ability. Cannot close. Can open like a motherfucker. Could not close.
No, we tend to give kicker analysis because that's just what we do. It's all tongue in cheek for the most part. It's not like, I mean, when we give out, like when we used to be one of the sheeps that do start sits every single week and waivers every single week, we would talk about kickers. We fucking used to rank kickers in defense. Our first 2 years, every single week, we would do rankings of kickers in defense. I mean, on top of the other, 4 positions, but.
By the way, I will give this draft credit. I don't see anything yet that I'm looking at. I'm like, that was freaking stupid. Why did we do this?
Just wait till you get to Johnny Smith.
Well, I know why that happened.
That's more of a joke, though. It's not like that was done. I mean, you can tell it's that. I would continue to lie to us if you meant to do that. I will say that.
I will definitely, to my grave.
I mean, like even quarterbacks really. So that's one thing too that people need to know when you're playing in small teams that don't have large rosters or large starters. The position scarcity does change things a little bit. So tight ends are generally more valued.
I found one.
Did you find one?
Oh, I did. And I think it went on auto draft, but FXP, who we've seen in a couple things. I think he went on auto draft because of how this happened. It was back-to-back-to-back quarterbacks.
Really?
So I'm thinking it was auto draft, but Tom Brady, Ryan Tannehill, Baker Mayfield in a single quarterback league in back-to-back-to-back rounds.
That's got to be auto draft. I'm going to say for the sake of his...
That seems auto drafty. Well, we've done mock drafts with FXP before too and stuff too. That doesn't seem like something that would happen. And if it is, then this is just even more insulting. So
he's just setting up for that week 6, week 7. Like, you got to get a quarterback. There's none available in this 8-team deep league.
That was
I got one. I got one we can talk about.
Okay.
James Robertson going at the 406 doesn't sound egregious, but going ahead of Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift, Chris Carson, and even Gus Edwards with all the injury news today.
So everybody but Chris Carson seems to make sense to me.
Yeah,
I mean, James Robinson, we know is not going to see the historic volume he got last year in terms of opportunity share. And
but I get it. And the thing is that Miles Sanders has had the opportunity the last 2 years and hasn't taken it by the balls. DeAndre Swift has only had 1 year of opportunity. You bring in a new quarterback, good offensive line. I love the opportunity that Swift has. Can make an argument for him, but you haven't seen it yet. The thing is that you're going to lean towards comfort and what have I seen before. You've seen James Robinson produce.
I mean, the entire Jacksonville situation has increased. Completely new quarterbacks. You should expect a lot better quarterback play. You have this infatuation, or it looks like Urban Meyer has its infatuation with Carlos Hyde. As Hyde and Robinson pretty much split snaps throughout preseason.
I think people worry about the efficiency of DeAndre Swift too, with how well is Detroit going to be able to pass it versus how much our defense is just going to be able to key on the run.
You can improve offensive line. That should. I mean, Ingoff's not going to run, so he should check it down.
Yeah.
I mean, Swift's efficiency is probably going to look better than people expected.
And game script. So I mean, there's a lot of things.
Well, game script's even better in Detroit's way, right? I mean, he's going to catch more check down passes.
Well, you're assuming, right? Game script when you're behind normally doesn't bode in favor of running backs. So,
last year with Robinson too, though, like everyone knew that they're just going to turn around and hand it off to him, right? So I'm sure 8, 9 in the box was what
I have no doubt that James
But the other thing is Robinson
is going to be great. Is he going to see the same type of opportunity that he saw last year?
The other thing with Robinson, though, right, is that Jacksonville's going to be in negative game scripts. all fucking time.
Is he going to be out there?
Why?
And Lawrence has shown the ability to take
wouldn't
off
he
and
be?
run
People
off,
are also weirdly scared of Jamal Williams in Detroit, by the way. I learned that this weekend.
which is really fucking weird. Like I've seen
I
him,
don't
like,
understand that one, but
at all.
people are.
Williams can
And
take some
that's the
carries
thing.
from him.
There's
It's like a game a year.
it's just question marks, right? Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, people want to avoid those three backs. And it's question marks. People are more comfortable with James Robinson and Gus Edwards than they are
That
those
is
three
true.
backs.
That is
because
definitely
they've
true.
seen them perform within the system before. And
I'm not really hating on the Robertson pick. I think it's the most conversation we can have. It's not about where he went; it's about who he went before. It's hard to deal with receivers because receivers in that middle tier.
And I don't
so
think
stacked.
the upside of those other guys is there with Robinson. I don't.
Well, I definitely see it with Swift. I think Swift has 75 plus target upside. We know how much targets are worth more than carries. And yes, touchdowns may be like, I don't know if touchdowns are going to be that much different. I mean, how much more points do you think Jacksonville scores more than Detroit? That's where I come from. You know, we talk about Chris Carson, which we know how undervalued he is every single year. And just within how that offense wants to run. We talk about Russell Wilson. Well, someone has to benefit from a stronger rushing team, so that's going to be Carson. Right. I get it with Sanders, and I'm low on Sanders, and I still end up getting him in so many places, and I don't have a lot of interest, but it's more conversation piece because I think that's the range where you can look at it and go, okay, there's some conversations to be had about how would you rank or who would you rather draft between those five. 4 or 5 running backs. Because I think even Josh Jacobs went in the 7th round at the 702. Guaranteed volume, but horrible offense. Offensive line should be good. It's one of the better run blocking units out there. But talking about disrespected value.
Josh Jacobs has been disrespected all offseason. He finished last year only 20 points off of Aaron Jones, and people don't seem to want to acknowledge that. So
Right. Well, it sounds pretty typical for just a Raiders offensive players in general.
Unless you're Darren Waller or
right, he's the only one gets any kind of.
Besides just him, like I'm all in on Brian Edwards as being a great value for this year, but I mean, we look at this Raiders offense and we point to one player only. And even Josh Jacobs, who's a starter, who's guaranteed to probably get 65 plus opportunities share, even with Kenyon Drake there. It just like this league even showed out how much that that disrespect is there.
Yeah, who do out of all the drafts you guys have done so far? I mean, obviously this is probably the last draft you're doing.
We've done a lot, Eddie. God. Let it bring it up and make fun of me about it.
Yeah, this is the last one.
Right. Who is the player you guys saw drop the most? Like just in every league on average, like you're like oh wow, I can't believe that player.
Cortland Sutton was a big one. I mean with injury, and Hopper and I have talked about this all off season. He was always on track. He was always gonna it always felt like he was gonna play week 1. And when the move from Drew Lock, and then when Teddy was announced as starter, people faded him even harder. I think Sutton's going to just be a boss in general. I mean, he got it done with Drew Lock, so I mean, he can get it done with Teddy.
Yeah, I like that. I actually like the Broncos receivers now compared to when Drew Lock was still.
I still like them a lot with Drew Lock. At least Drew Lock is vertical. He's a vertical passer.
Yeah,
he wants to press. He wants to attack.
Like 10 feet over their head every fucking time.
His decision making, yes, could be better. But I've always felt like Drew Lock was more of the upside play. And in a team that has to face Mahomes and now Herbert 4 times a year, like why are you going with your safe bet with Teddy? Like it just feels like they've already given up on the chance of trying to be productive or at least fast paced on offense and just go with the methodical. Teddy's gonna take forever to fucking snap the football.
Looks like they're just playing like win with defense, and the season hasn't even started yet.
That's what I said, and this is the thing that it's exactly what I said. And the thing that I didn't understand is that the wide receivers faded when Teddy was announced, but Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon did not subsequently go up when that move was announced.
I think Javonte maybe did a little bit, but I like it's like people like I've seen I saw big Twitter names even talk about like you have to move the running backs up because Teddy said
you do
run more and he checks down a lot more.
And it's not just running more and checking down a lot more, but that's what that signaled to me. And we talked about it on our show, and I tweeted it too. The decision to go with Teddy signals to me that we want a game. We don't want to risk it with our quarterback trying to play hero ball. So we want a game manager quarterback. We're going to treat him with defense and running the football. It should have been an immediate boost to Gordon and Javonte Williams.
Yeah, it's like taking the Washington playbook from last year when they threw Alex Smith in there.
That's exactly it.
And they actually have a better running back core. I mean, I love Gibson, don't get me wrong, but I trust the stability of a Gordon and Javonte. Gordon's also getting the disrespect. The Javonte hype that came out today from Vic Fangio, just if we had another 2 weeks of drafting, I think Javonte would have crept up into the 4th round.
A player that I've seen fall a lot is Dak Prescott.
Right.
People are concerned about the arm and what he's been dealing with. He's the one that I have seen fall a ton. But the weird thing than that to me is that Dak Prescott's fallen a ton, but CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup have not fallen along with him. So these people really like Cooper Rush is what I'm deducing from this.
Yeah, I was going to throw in Miles Sanders in there. You'd mentioned him earlier, but I mean, if you go even before, I'd say before preseason, like I would say his ADP is what? 3rd, 4th?
He's late 4th round. He's
early 4th,
mid to late 4th. Yeah,
mid to late 4th. But I mean, even I had a draft yesterday where I think I got him in like the 7th round even. Like I think it's more the Eagles' stigma of what kind of offense is this going to be, and is he going to be healthy?
He was also one of the least pass catching efficient running back. He was one of the worst pass catching backs last year.
Yeah.
And it's not just Sanders. We talked about it before. There is a tier of running backs that is falling, and it is David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, and Miles Sanders.
And Josh Jacobs.
That is a tier of running backs that is like not in the dead zone. They're the back end of the live zone, but they fall because people don't trust them.
Yeah.
And you can really capitalize on that value. I mean, Miles Sanders still has insane like he still has really good upside, just given what we saw from his rookie season.
They all do.
Yeah, it's a small sample. Exactly. So there's a lot to be concerned with with Sanders. Apparently he's at a bad training camp and preseason with him pass catching, which means we may see a little more Boston Scott on later down work, on 3rd down and pass catching work. It should be game well, but I think it's going to start out as Boston Scott, but that contributes to that.
Makes sense. I could definitely see it. I think I need a refill. Be right back. I'll put pants on before I stand up, though.
I think we appreciate that. I'd say I think. I'm not really sure.
Sorry, I'm over here eating Jimmy chips.
Did you get Jimmy John's? Nice.
I had Jimmy John's last week. Chips have just been on my desk since then.
There you go. Oh, man.
No, that whole tier is taking a fall, though. And there is upside to that tier, so.
I agree.
That's kind of been an interesting one for me, is that people don't seem to want to pull the trigger on anybody in that tier.
Well,
even though it's a tier with insulated value. Tariq Cohen starting on the pop for David Montgomery. And, Miles Sanders has, unless Kenneth Gainwell emerges, not a ton of anything behind him. DeAndre Swift has a ton of opportunity share. And Josh Jacobs was only 20 points off of Aaron Jones last year. So, there's 4 backs there that just seem to fade downward without a lot of thought to me. And really, Mixon and Edwards-Helaire kind of lead that tier, too, of people that are faded downward.
Yeah, he's gone from being the easiest fade last year to one of the better values. It started to creep back up towards the end here.
Talking about Clyde?
On Clyde, where he became probably right where he should be in that late second or early third round picks. But there was a point in time where he was late third, early fourth. And Mahomes may not be, Mr. Checkdown King, but they really kind of hone in on who your target getters are. Between Kelsey and Hill, Clyde, could easily lead or be third in targets on that team, and it shouldn't shock anybody. Clyde could get 60, 65 plus. You also have a top 3 scoring offense, so he's going to get tremendous goal line opportunity. And while he was, famously bad at it last year, I think in week 1, he still gets the opportunity. We always talk about how touchdowns aren't stats that will stick. There's high variance to them. Unless you're AJ Brown or Aaron Jones, you tend to kind of, average out your touchdown rate. And I think Clyde's we'll see his bounce up within this Chiefs offense.
Right, you were still talking to me.
Yes, we're still live, aren't we?
We are still live, yes. Not for much longer.
No. By the way, guys out there listening, we're going to go on Wednesdays.
Yeah, we're going to go on Wednesdays now, I think. I should put that in for this Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat time, different day, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And we'll we'll give you some info. We'll end up just talking about what's happening.
We just want to make sure we get in before the Thursday games. And before, waivers are already going to run by then. Go listen to other podcasts for waiver wire stuff. But I think we just want to make sure we get in before Thursday games, more or less.
At this point, you can read the 18,000 articles, listen to the 1,800 podcasts that will give you the same, 3 to 5 players for your waivers.
Yeah, there's a couple weeks I might have to adjust around, but Wednesday night works pretty well for me. Except for when I have homebrew meetings on Wednesday nights. We'll have to adjust that, but that's one day a month. So
wedding week will be.
Wedding week, I knew we'd have to come off Thursday anyway. We might have to go Tuesday there. We'll figure it out.
We'll probably go Tuesday. But anyways.
Anyways. Eddie, any other thoughts on the draft or anything before we kind of wrap this down?
No, I want to thank you guys for doing it. Definitely appreciate it. Hopefully this can turn into something that we're doing more often. Fans of each show can root for your team, if you will. Feel free to talk shit to me at Eddie TSP for taking Johnny Smith in the 6th round.
Where can people find your work, by the way? You get a podcast name shout out?
Yeah. So Spotify, iTunes, just type in Taproom Sports Podcast. We're very similar in the sense that we review beer, football, every sport. We have TSP bets where we do sports gambling. So if you're interested, we do Tuesdays and Fridays that we come out with that. Weekend waiver wire starting back up for fantasy lovers. So Taproom Sports Podcast on iTunes and Spotify.
So there you go. Make sure you listen to Eddie for your waiver wire picks and stuff, because Dan and I are going to be going Wednesdays. Not going to be there in time for your waiver wire picks. We're going to be there for your starting lineups. We'll still try to live stream you on Sundays too.
That's right. We'll give you all your weather updates, your last minute news, and your coffee field.
That's right. But
Hey, it's Sunday though. You could still throw beer fueled in there, dude.
I mean, I didn't say that might be Jameson.
It really depends on what we do the Saturday night beforehand.
Most
of the time.
And it's also true. Dan finally works a job where he doesn't have to work late Saturdays.
Right.
So.
You can actually join me instead of making me carry that weight.
That's right. I'll be here every Sunday. I will not be working Sundays.
Nice.
I will be here a lot of Sundays. So
I will be here every Sunday. That
might be from hotel rooms on occasion, but we'll be here.
That's right.
All right, guys.
I like it.
Thank you very much for tuning in to the Impromptu episode. We'll be back on Wednesday at Beerfield Hop, at Beerfield Thuray, Beerfield Podcast on Twitter.
Beerfield, I think it's Beerfield.
Hold on, I'm going to look. Like it might just be Beerfield.
Hold on.
We just changed all this.
At Beerfield for the Beerfield Podcast.
We don't know our own Twitter handle. That's on brand. At Beerfield for that. And YouTube Beerfield Podcast.
It should say Podcast.
For those of the Midwest FF Expo, you get it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm buzzed. We gotta go. Take care.
Peace.
Later.